This story is titled, During breakfast, my fiancé suddenly demanded we break up because you sneezed too loudly. Weeks later, she was kneeling at my door crying with a positive pregnancy test. But I told her I cannot have children and firmly refused her. Sup Reddit, I'm Thomas, 38 years old, and I never thought my marriage would end over breakfast, let alone something as ridiculous as my breathing. But here I am, still trying to process how my life turned into this absolute mess. I guess I should start from that morning. The morning that changed everything. Nicole, 32F, and I had been married for 8 years. We met in college and dated for 3 years before tying the knot. Everything seemed perfect between us, at least from my perspective. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I never saw any red flags that would indicate what was coming. We both had good jobs. I'm a civil engineer, and she works in advertising. We bought a house in the suburbs of Chicago 2 years ago and thought we were living the dream. Our life together seemed stable, comfortable, and exactly what we'd both wanted. That Saturday morning started like any other weekend. I was making my signature raspberry pancakes, something I'd done every weekend since we got married. Nicole always said they were her favorite, and I took pride in making them just right for her. I remember how the kitchen smelled of butter and fresh coffee as the morning light streamed through our bay window. It was early April, and there was still a bit of frost on the ground outside. One of those perfect, quiet mornings where everything feels right with the world. I heard Nicole coming down the stairs and turned to smile at her, but something was different. She was already dressed, which was unusual for our lazy Saturday mornings when we typically lounged in pajamas until noon. She sat at our kitchen island, perfectly poised, looking at me with this strange, detached expression I'd never seen before. "We need to talk," she said, her voice eerily calm. I flipped the last pancake onto a plate and turned off the stove. "Okay," I replied, sliding her plate across the counter like I always did, completely unaware that my life was about to implode. That's when she said it. "I want a divorce. I can't take it anymore." She spoke so casually, like she was telling me we were out of milk or that the weather was changing. I stood there, spatula still in hand, thinking this had to be some kind of joke. But Nicole doesn't joke. Not like this. Not about something so serious. "What?" I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. "What do you mean you can't take it anymore?" She sighed, pushing away the plate of pancakes I just served her. "You're breathing. It's too loud. I can't sleep. I can't focus when we're watching TV. I can't even sit across from you at dinner anymore. You breathe so loud, Thomas. It's driving me insane." I remember standing there, wondering if I'd somehow slipped into an alternate reality where marriages end over breathing patterns. I must have stood there for a good minute, my mind refusing to process what I just heard. The pancakes were getting cold, steam no longer rising from them, much like how the warmth in Nicole's eyes had disappeared. "My breathing? Are you serious right now?" I finally managed to say, my voice a mix of confusion and hurt. "We've been married for 8 years and suddenly my breathing is too loud? Nicole, what's really going on here?" She wouldn't look at me directly, her eyes fixed on some invisible point on our granite countertop. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. Her hands were trembling slightly as she gripped her coffee mug. Nicole, who was always so composed, so in control, was showing cracks in her perfect facade. "You don't understand," she said, her voice taking on an almost hysterical edge. "It's been driving me crazy for months. The way you breathe when you sleep, when you work at your desk, even now. It's like this constant reminder that I'm trapped. I can't take it anymore." I walked around the kitchen island to face her directly. "Trapped? Nicole, if you're unhappy, we can talk about this. We can see a counselor. But breathing? That's not a reason for divorce and you know it. What's really happening here?" She stood up so abruptly that her bar stool scraped against the floor with a harsh sound that made us both wince. "Don't you dare try to psychoanalyze me. I've made my decision. I've already talked to a lawyer." That hit me like a punch to the gut. A lawyer? While I was making weekend pancakes and planning our summer vacation, my wife had been meeting with divorce attorneys. Something clicked in my mind then. All those late meetings over the past few weeks, the mysterious phone calls she'd taken in our backyard, how she'd started password protecting her phone. The pieces were falling into place, and I didn't like the picture they were forming. "How long have you been planning this?" I asked, my voice barely containing the anger building inside me. "And who is he, Nicole?" Nicole's head snapped up, her eyes widening for just a fraction of a second before she caught herself. But it was enough. I saw it. That flash of panic, that moment of realization that she'd been caught. There's no he, she said, but her voice wavered. This is about us? About how I can't live like this anymore. Like what, Nicole? In a marriage where your husband makes you pancakes and loves you? Where we have a beautiful home and a life most people dream of? Or is it about living with someone who trusted you completely while you were... I couldn't even finish the sentence. The thought was too painful, too raw. She grabbed her purse from the counter, her movements jerky and desperate. I'm staying at my sister's. My lawyer will contact you next week. As she headed for the door, I called after her. At least have the decency to tell me the truth. I deserve that much. She paused, her hand on the doorknob, but didn't turn around. Sometimes the truth is worse than a lie, she whispered. And then she was gone, leaving me alone with cooling pancakes and the echo of words that made no sense. Yet after Nicole left, I stood in our kitchen, rage slowly replacing shock. The sound of her car engine fading away snapped something inside me. I grabbed my phone and dialed Rebecca, Nicole's best friend since college. If anyone knew what the hell was really going on, it would be her. Rebecca and I always got along well. She was one of the few people who seemed genuinely happy when Nicole and I got married. She picked up on the third ring. Thomas, is everything okay? Her voice carried concern, as if she already knew something was wrong. No, everything is not okay, I snapped, my voice shaking with emotion. My wife just told me she wants a divorce because I breathed too loud. Want to tell me what kind of game she's playing? There was a long pause on the other end. When Rebecca spoke again, her voice was different, hesitant, almost guilty. She told you it was about your breathing? Cut the crap, Rebecca. I've known you for 10 years. You're a terrible liar and I can hear it in your voice right now. What's going on with my wife? Another pause, longer this time. I heard her take a deep breath, as if steeling herself for what she was about to say. Thomas, I told her this was wrong. I told her she needed to be honest with you, but she wouldn't listen. She's been seeing someone. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Even though I'd suspected it, hearing it confirmed felt like being stabbed in the chest. My worst fears were real. How long? I managed to ask, my knuckles white from gripping the kitchen counter to steady myself. 3 months, Rebecca said quietly. It's her new client. That tech guy, Connor? She paused before adding, but Thomas, that's not even the worst part. What could be worse than my wife fucking some tech bro behind my back? I practically shouted, no longer caring about controlling my emotions. My entire world was crumbling around me. She thinks she might be pregnant, she said, her voice barely audible. The world stopped spinning for a moment. My legs gave out, and I sank into the nearest chair, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach again. She what? She took a test last week, but it was inconclusive. She's terrified, Thomas. She doesn't know if it's yours or... I cut her off with a harsh laugh that sounded foreign even to my own ears. Oh, that's rich. That's perfect. You know what's funny, Rebecca? I got a vasectomy last year. What? Now it was Rebecca's turn to sound shocked. But Nicole said you two were still trying. We were. Then I found out I had a genetic condition that could cause serious health issues in children, I explained, the words bitter in my mouth. I told Nicole I wanted to wait, but I couldn't risk it. She agreed. We both signed the medical forms. She was there at the consultation. She knows damn well I can't father children anymore. Oh my God, Rebecca whispered. Thomas, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. She never said... Yeah, well, apparently there's a lot Nicole never said, I replied, my voice cold and hollow. Thanks for being honest with me, Rebecca. At least someone in Nicole's life has a conscience. I hung up before she could respond. The pancakes were still sitting on the counter, now completely cold. In a surge of anger, I swept the plate off the counter, watching it shatter against the wall with a kind of detached satisfaction. 8 years of marriage, and this is what it came down to. Broken plates, cold pancakes, and a web of lies that was only beginning to unravel. I'm not proud of what I did next, but rage has a way of taking over rational thought. I got in my car and drove straight to Nicole's office. It was Monday morning, and I knew she'd be there because she never missed her weekly team meeting. The same meeting where she'd been presenting to her new client, Connor, for the past 3 months. I walked into the modern glass building where she worked, past the security desk. They all knew me from bringing Nicole lunch countless times, and straight to the 4th floor advertising department. The first person I saw was Gloria, Nicole's coworker of 5 years, who immediately went pale when she spotted me. Thomas, wait, she started, but I was already pushing past her toward the conference room where I could see Nicole through the glass walls. She was standing next to a guy I'd never seen before. Young, wearing an expensive watch and a startup casual outfit that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Connor, I presumed. I threw open the door, interrupting whatever presentation was happening. "So, this is why you hate my breathing," I said loudly, causing everyone in the room to freeze. "Because you've been too busy catching your breath with him?" Nicole's face drained of color. "Thomas, please, no!" "Let me finish," I cut her off, looking around the room at her colleagues. "My wife told me yesterday she wants a divorce because I breathe too loud. Funny thing is, I just found out she's been sleeping with this guy." I pointed at Connor, who had the audacity to try to stand up. "But here's the real kicker. She might be pregnant, and she knows it can't be mine because I had a vasectomy last year. With her knowledge, with her signature on the forms." The silence in the room was deafening. Then I noticed something strange. No one looked surprised, just uncomfortable. That's when it hit me. "You all knew, didn't you?" I looked around the room, seeing guilty faces everywhere. "Every time I came here with lunch, brought her coffee, surprised her with flowers. You all knew?" Melissa, who'd attended our wedding, couldn't even look at me. Rick, who'd been to countless barbecues at our house, suddenly found his shoes fascinating. Even Gloria, still hovering by the door, looked like she wanted to disappear. "How long have you all been laughing at me behind my back?" My voice was eerily calm now. "How many office parties did you watch us at, knowing she was sleeping with him? How many times did you smile to my face while keeping her secret?" Connor finally spoke up. "Man, this is a private matter." I turned to him, and whatever he saw in my face made him step back. "Private? Like privately sleeping with my wife? Or privately getting her pregnant while knowing she's married? Tell me, Connor, what part of this should be private?" Nicole was crying now, mascara running down her face. "Please, Thomas, not here!" "Why not here?" "This is where it happened, isn't it?" I gestured around the conference room. "This is where you decided our marriage meant nothing. Where you made me into a joke for the whole office to laugh at. Well, guess what? The joke's on you now." I turned to leave, then stopped at the door. "Oh, and Nicole, since you hate my breathing so much, you'll be happy to know you won't have to hear it anymore. I've already called a divorce lawyer. He's expecting your call." As I walked out, I heard the chaos erupting behind me, voices raised, chairs scraping, Nicole sobbing. But I didn't look back. I'd spent enough time being the last one to know what was happening in my own marriage. For days after the office showdown, I was sitting in my dark living room, nursing a bourbon and ignoring another string of texts from Nicole when I heard a car pull up. Through the window, I recognized Connor's Tesla, because of course he drove a Tesla. My first instinct was to turn off the lights and pretend I wasn't home, but something about the way he was just sitting there, head pressed against the steering wheel, made me curious. After about 5 minutes, he finally got out and walked to my door. His confident startup bro demeanor was gone. He looked broken. When he knocked, I waited a full minute before opening the door. "What do you want?" I asked coldly, blocking the entrance. "To show you something," he replied, pulling out his phone. He held it up, showing me medical records. "I've been infertile since birth. Never produced a single viable sperm in my life. Doctors confirmed it multiple times." I stared at him, my brain struggling to process this information. "What? Can I come in? This conversation shouldn't happen on your porch." Against my better judgment, I let him in. He sat on my couch, the same couch where Nicole and I used to watch movies every Friday night. The familiarity of seeing a stranger in that spot made my stomach turn. "Nicole doesn't know," he continued, his voice hollow. "We've been together for 3 months, yes. I'm not proud of it, but I hadn't slept with her until 2 weeks ago. And when she told me yesterday she might be pregnant and it had to be mine because you had a vasectomy." He laughed bitterly. "That's when I realized I wasn't her only secret." I sank into the armchair across from him. "So if you're infertile and I had a vasectomy, then she's been sleeping with someone else. Someone neither of us knows about," Connor finished. "She played us both, man." I got up and poured another bourbon, then after a moment's hesitation, poured one for Connor too. He took it with a nod of thanks. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on me, sharing drinks with the man I'd wanted to punch just days ago. "How did you find out about my vasectomy?" I asked, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. "She told me yesterday, crying about how it had to be my baby because you couldn't have children," he explained. "Said you got the procedure last year without telling her. When I told her that was impossible because of my condition, she had a complete meltdown. Started accusing me of lying, saying I was just trying to abandon her like you did." I scoffed. She signed the damn consent forms. She drove me to the procedure. Connor's face darkened. She's been lying to everyone about everything. To you about me, to me about you, and to both of us about whoever the real father is. We sat in silence for a moment, two men united by the betrayal of the same woman. The irony wasn't lost on me. So what now? I asked, finishing my drink in one gulp. Connor pulled out a small USB drive. Now I show you the texts and emails I've gathered. You show me what you have, and we make sure she can't do this to anyone else. I'm not letting her play victim while destroying more lives. I looked at the USB drive, then at Connor. A week ago, he was the enemy. Now he was just another casualty in Nicole's web of lies. I got up and went to my office to get my own collection of evidence. Let's do this, I said, returning with my laptop. Sometimes the enemy of your enemy becomes the ally you never expected to have. It took us 3 hours of going through emails, text messages, and Nicole's social media to find a pattern. Connor had access to her work calendar, and I knew her personal schedule. The overlap revealed a name that kept appearing. David Wilson, a client from another firm who had regular consulting meetings with Nicole that weren't logged in the official system. Look at these dates, Connor said, pointing to his laptop screen. Every Tuesday and Thursday, lunch meeting on her work calendar, but her personal calendar shows gym time. I pulled up Nicole's credit card statements that were still linked to our joint account. No gym charges, but regular charges at the Hilton downtown during those exact times. The evidence was mounting, painting a picture I couldn't have imagined just days ago. Connor ran a quick search on David Wilson. Found him. He's a VP at First National Bank, married with 2 kids. His wife's some big shot surgeon. He turned the screen toward me, showing a LinkedIn profile of a guy who looked like he belonged in a stock photo. Perfect smile, perfect hair, perfect life. Well, I said, taking a deep breath. Time to ruin his perfect facade just like Nicole ruined ours. We decided to do this right. No angry confrontations, no messy scenes. We were going to handle this like professionals at the upcoming office party, celebrating the merger between Nicole's company and their biggest client. Everyone would be there, including clients like David Wilson. Connor, being part of the startup being acquired, had full control over the guest list. He made sure David was invited, along with other First National executives. I was still on the list as Nicole's +1. She hadn't gotten around to removing me yet. You sure about this? Connor asked as we finalized our plan. Once we do this, there's no going back. I looked at the evidence spread across my coffee table. Hotel receipts, messages, calendar screenshots. The physical proof of my wife's betrayal laid bare. She's pregnant with his child, lying to his wife, and tried to pin it on both of us. He deserves to know, and she deserves the consequences. The party's in 2 days, Connor said, standing up. I'll make sure everything's set up in the conference room. You bring the evidence. As he headed for the door, he turned back. You know what's crazy? I actually thought I was in love with her. Yeah, I replied, looking around at my half-empty house, wedding photos still on the walls. I know exactly how that feels. We had 48 hours to prepare for a party that would change 6 people's lives forever. Mine, Connor's, Nicole's, David's, and his unsuspecting wife and family. Sometimes justice comes with a champagne toast and a side of brutal truth. The merger celebration was in full swing at the Grand Plaza Hotel's ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and Chicago's corporate elite mingling around in their finest. The perfect setting for everything to fall apart. I arrived early with Connor, both of us in dark suits, looking more like business partners than what we really were. A betrayed husband and his wife's ex-lover turned unlikely ally. We positioned ourselves strategically, Connor near the entrance, me by the bar, waiting for all the players to arrive. David Wilson walked in at 7:30, exactly when Connor said he would. His wife wasn't with him. She was in surgery, according to what we'd learned. He looked every bit the successful executive, completely unaware that his perfectly crafted world was about to shatter. Then Nicole walked in. She was wearing a black cocktail dress that probably cost a month's salary, her hand resting unconsciously on her stomach, a gesture that now held a whole new meaning. The moment she entered, her eyes scanned the room like they always did at these events, looking for the important people she needed to impress. That's when it happened. She saw Connor first, near the door, and her step faltered. Then she spotted me at the bar, and her face went white. But the real moment came when David turned around from his conversation group, champagne in hand, and locked eyes with her. I've never seen someone's facade crack so completely in public. Nicole stood frozen, her eyes darting between the three of us, realizing that for the first time, all her carefully separated worlds were colliding. Connor moved first, walking toward David with his hand extended. "Mr. Wilson, so glad you could make it. I don't believe you've met my friend Thomas." Nicole started moving toward us, panic visible beneath her perfect makeup. "Connor, don't—" "Don't what, Nicole?" I asked, loudly enough for nearby groups to turn. "Don't introduce your husband to your boyfriend? Or don't introduce your boyfriend to your other boyfriend?" David looked confused, glancing between us. "I'm sorry, what's going on here?" "Well," Connor said, his voice carrying that startup pitch confidence. "I think we should discuss that privately. All of us." He gestured toward the small conference room adjacent to the ballroom. Nicole was shaking her head, tears threatening to ruin her mascara. "Please, not here, not now!" "Why not now?" I asked. "Is there a better time to discuss how you're pregnant, claiming it's Connor's baby because I had a vasectomy, which you knew about, while not knowing that Connor's infertile? Or should we wait to tell David here that his wife might want to know about his Tuesday through Thursday appointments at the Hilton?" The color drained from David's face. Around us, conversations had stopped. People were staring, phones were discreetly recording. Nicole's perfect worlds weren't just colliding anymore, they were exploding. "Conference room," Connor said firmly. "Now." As we walked toward the room, Nicole trailing behind us like a condemned prisoner, I caught snippets of whispers from the crowd. "Isn't that her husband? I thought she was with the startup guy. Did he say pregnant?" The heavy door closed behind us with a final sounding click. 4 people. 3 men who'd never planned to meet, and 1 woman who never planned for them to. The conference room felt like a courtroom, with Nicole standing alone on one side while the 3 of us faced her. Through the glass walls, I could see people trying to appear busy while obviously watching our drama unfold. 8 years of marriage had taught me every expression on Nicole's face, and right now she looked like a trapped animal, searching for escape. So I broke the silence. "Who wants to go first? Connor, want to tell David about how Nicole said she loved you and couldn't live without you? Or David, maybe you'd like to explain those hotel receipts from the Hilton?" As for me, I pulled out my phone and opened our text messages. I have 8 years of lies to share. Nicole's voice cracked. "Thomas, please, no!" I cut her off, my voice trembling with emotion. "You don't get to beg anymore. You don't get to manipulate us. You told me I breathed too loud, Nicole. You made me think I was crazy, that I was the problem. Meanwhile, you were building this whole alternate life, playing with people like we were your personal chess pieces." David sat heavily in one of the conference chairs. "My wife," he whispered. "She's pregnant too. Due in September." Connor laughed bitterly. "Congratulations. Nicole here is due around Christmas, in case you're wondering. Though I guess we all know now whose it is." Nicole burst into tears. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I felt so trapped, so ordinary. Thomas was always so perfect, so dependable. Connor was exciting and new. And David," she looked at him pleadingly, "you made me feel special." "Special?" I couldn't hold back anymore. I walked to the conference room door and threw it open. "Hey, everyone!" I called out to the ballroom. "Want to hear what special looks like? It looks like a woman who tells her husband his breathing is too loud as an excuse for divorce because she's pregnant with her married boyfriend's baby while dating a startup CEO on the side." The ballroom went dead silent. Every eye was on us. Nicole collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "I loved you," I continued, my voice breaking. "I would have given you the world. Instead, you took everything I thought was real and turned it into a lie. You didn't just cheat on me, Nicole. You destroyed 3 families, 3 men's lives, because you were bored." Connor stepped forward. "We all made mistakes. I knew she was married and I pursued her anyway. That's on me." David nodded slowly. "I have no excuse. I betrayed my wife, my children. For what? Hotel room meetings and empty promises. The difference is," I said, looking at them both, "you 2 were single mistakes. She was living 3 separate lives, playing 3 different roles, lying to everyone. And she would have kept going if she hadn't gotten pregnant." Nicole looked up, mascara streaking down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I don't even know who I am anymore." "I do," I replied coldly. "You're someone who's about to lose everything. Your job, because what company wants an executive who sleeps with clients? Your reputation, because everyone in this room has a phone and a social media account. And most importantly, you've lost any chance of having a single person in this room ever trust you again. The three of us walked out together, leaving Nicole sobbing in the conference room. As we reached the ballroom exit, David turned to me. "I'm going home to tell my wife everything. She deserves the truth." Connor nodded. "I'm pulling my company from the merger. Some things are more important than business." We stood there for a moment, three men united by betrayal, each of us broken in our own way, but somehow stronger together. "Good luck," I said to both of them. "I hope you find better than what we thought we had." As I drove home that night, I thought about breathing. How something so natural, so essential to life, had become Nicole's excuse for destroying ours. But maybe, just maybe, we could all finally breathe easier now that the truth was out. It's been 6 months since that night at the Grand Plaza. David's wife filed for divorce, and he's paying for it dearly, financially and emotionally. Connor's company found another partner and is doing well, though I hear he's moved to Seattle for a fresh start. As for me, the divorce was finalized last month. Nicole tried to claim alimony, but her lawyer dropped that demand pretty quickly when our lawyer presented the evidence Connor and I had gathered. She ended up moving back to her hometown in Michigan. I heard through mutual friends that she lost the baby, if there ever was one. Sometimes I wonder if the pregnancy was just another lie in her web of deception. I'll never know for sure, and honestly, I don't want to. Rebecca called me last week. She said Nicole has been trying to rewrite our history, telling people I was abusive and controlling. That my loud breathing was actually part of my pattern of psychological torment. Some people believe her. Others, who saw the videos from the party that inevitably went viral in our social circle, know better. I sold our house in Chicago and bought a smaller place downtown. I'm still a civil engineer, still making raspberry pancakes on Saturday mornings. But I make them just for me now, and somehow, they taste better. People ask me if I'm angry, if I hate Nicole for what she did. The truth is, I'm past anger. What I feel now is a strange sort of gratitude. If she hadn't complained about my breathing that Saturday morning, I might have spent years, maybe decades, living with someone who saw me as nothing more than a dependable backdrop to her real life. Instead, I'm learning who I am without her. I'm dating again, cautiously. I'm rebuilding trust in other people and in myself. Most importantly, I'm breathing freely for the first time in years. Sometimes I think about Nicole, Connor, David, and me. 4 people whose lives became entangled in a way none of us could have predicted. 4 people who each thought they were getting one thing, but ended up with something entirely different. What a strange way for a marriage to end, over pancakes and the sound of breathing. But life goes on. We all keep breathing, loud or quiet, and eventually, we all find our way forward through the mess. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than the most beautiful lie.